my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white. Yeah, it's black and white. We're just black and white. It's my black and white. It's my black and white scarf.
Hello, and you're very welcome to the Town End Podcast. It's season 6, episode 4. Well, after a fiery Louth Derby, unfortunately, Dundalk have to settle for a point as the fire kicked on and off the pitch tonight. To go through this Louth Derby, we're joined by Gally again tonight.
I knew there'd be kind of a wee limerick there and a wee nod to the
I tried my best to pick it up.
Yeah. Christopher.
Last week, Gally, we sat here and we went, you know what, we were disappointed, but it's great being back in the Premier Division. We'll take a point on the road to Derry. This one stinged a little bit more tonight.
Yeah, and again, not to reiterate what we said last week, would you have taken a draw tonight? Maybe. I mean, because we're still kind of don't know where we are in this league. We don't know kind of level we're at, but I think we've shown, and I fully agree with Kieran Gould's post-match comments, that they should be disappointed after the game, having been 1-0 up in what was probably not a great game, let's be honest. I mean, look, it's you could argue it's a fair result, but at the same time, I think Drogheda had some decent chances, but I think on the balance of the play, Dundalk probably could have got something more out of it. We didn't create enough for me, but you know, in terms of a game, look, you're only going to get it one or two of two ways in a Louth Derby or a game against the likes of Shamrock Rovers. It's either going to be an absolute cracking game, or there's going to be a damp squib or a dodgy flair. That's probably the best way of putting it. And there's never an in between. They're always crackers or just a really dull affair. And I wouldn't say this was really dull because it had a bit of appetite and bite with it because it's the first game back for the Louth Derby in the Premier Division. The new pitch, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some stage, and even before the game itself, it seemed to be a little bit tetchy, I suppose. That's the best way of putting it on the Carrick Road. But it all adds to the atmosphere. It's not nice to see, but I mean, it does. That tension is in the air, and there really should be bigger games on the pitch, and they very rarely are, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of a result, look, I mean, you're 2 games into the league, you have 2 draws. Look, I'm sure they're annoyed that they've, you know, we're back into this where we've led every time and we haven't got anything out of it. So, you know, we've led twice in Derry, we've led tonight, and we just haven't been able to see it over the line. But I mean, look, the positives are that we're still finding our feet. It's going to take us probably half a dozen games. Yeah. You know, look, we're straight back into it on Monday night. And it probably can't come quick enough. I think the lads are probably itching to get a proper run at it. It's a pity we haven't got a few more points in the bag going into the game in Rovers, but look, I don't think we could have asked for results-wise. I think we would have taken the 2 results we're after having.
Yeah.
Go.
I find it struggle to kind of talk about this game without talking about the big incident in this. I suppose the whole thing before the Minister for Sport was down unveiling the official pitch. It seemed like everything was great, you know. I'm sure when, you know, I'm sure the club was aware there was going to be something like this happening. It seemed like they'd put plenty of fire service individuals around that area, places to put out the flares. But it seemed like the goal of some of the Drogheda fans tonight was to toss the flare as far as they could onto the pitch. Yeah. And the way that new synthetic pitch goes, it seemed to really burn up much more than the old pitch. Maybe it's just the way those new fibers sit or something like that. It's hard to know, but when you see the damage caused after it, like, it's hard.
You just shared the damage on our socials there on Instagram, pictures you took yourself, and it was bad looking from the screens, but it's shocking. And like, you're talking a flare being on the ground for what, probably 5 seconds?
Yeah,
10 max, maybe I'm pushing it. I mean, it just goes to show the damage. And like, I for one, I enjoy flares. I think flares really add to the atmosphere. The problem is, and there
was flares in the shed, but not one of them tossed onto the pitch.
There's a difference between having flares on you and then throwing them onto the field. If we can do, if somebody come up with a safe way of doing this, you know, you get your flares in, do 100 of them if you want. You have to dispose of them safely. You can't be pegging them onto the field. And to me, that's just a shitty thing to do. And that's, you know, I'm well past the watershed here.
Yeah.
rival fans, we all have flares, but there's a line. I mean, if someone goes to toss that and it slips out of their hand and hits someone, you know, if like, I don't know what we do. I mean, apart from we can throw all the fines we like at clubs, but until you start hitting them on the table in points, I don't see. There has to be a recklessness barrier where you can't cross. And look, I mean, people are asking for Drogheda to pay for the pitch. It's not Drogheda United's fault. You know, these lads have walked into Oriel Park with what looks like about 50 flares, and they've lit the same amount out at the train station before as well. So how they're getting in, I've no idea. And I don't pretend to know how to police this. I don't know how to do it. But I personally don't mind flares. I think it's great. I think it really adds to the buzz of a game. But there has to come a time where people really have to catch a grip. And people who are there on the night, if that was a Dundalk fan and you're standing in Tala or you're standing somewhere, I'd expect the Dundalk fans to shop them boys. Because you can't be at that. It's too dangerous. Like, brand new pitch, no matter who's coming to town to play in the first game, to do that on the first night and said about it. It's cat. It is cat. And I don't know what it costs to fix. But it's going to.
Kieran Donnelly was down the steps fairly quickly there at the end, having a look at it, and sizing it up.
I mean, there's no brushing it away. It has to be lifted.
No, that's going to have to be cut out and put back down. I think it was interesting that because it was the feature match tonight and stuff like that. I think I counted maybe 5, could have even been more FEI individuals there tonight as well. So like they've seen this now as well. You see, you can't find the club for them, but they are representing the club as their fans.
Yeah, I mean, find them definitely for the flares, but getting them to pay for the pitch. I've seen some comments. I don't know whether you can go down that road, but like I don't know. Like, I know there's a 500. Is it still a €500 fine on flares? I don't know what this. I don't know if they're still incorporating
something like that. Yeah,
but I think something like that has to be. There has to be a bit more of a I don't know, of a strenuous kind of way. Yeah, there has to be something, like whether it's a points deduction. I don't know at the end. I don't know, but you start. I don't know. Look, it's easy now, and like this is the joy of a live podcast afterwards. It's easy to kind of go after it now, but it's and look. Let's be honest. It's rare a burn mark happens. I know there is flares. There has been flares thrown out at the end of a flare, but these were lit and thrown straight away, pretty much. I mean, it's absolutely criminal. But it's such a pity, and this is what we're talking about, regardless of the match. And even though it was a poor game, this probably gives us a bit more, gives us about 20 minutes extra on the podcast, because we probably couldn't talk about much else. But it's just, and rivalries aside, like, this is League of Ireland. It's supposed to be the greatest league in the world, and then it's just an absolute shame that we're talking about this pitch that's only, 2 minutes old in terms of football. It's awful, and live television, like Frank says there, and it's just not like you say. FA officials, chairpersons, Collins,
they were all down inspecting the pitch there at the end.
Donaghy from PTS4 or whatever, I can't remember their initials.
Right.
You know, for that, it's an awful advertisement, having done so much work to it, and people forever crying over the pitch in Oriel Park, crying for years over it. We get it fixed, and then we're dealing with this before the match even kicks off. Yeah, such a shame.
Yeah, I see Aaron McCrory there on the Instagram saying it just goes to prompt other rival fans, like, you know, to do something similar now as well, because it's been done. It's kind of like, oh, sure, we'll do the same now.
Yeah, and like,
you need a big deterrent now to kind of push.
Yeah, and what that is, look, I don't pretend to know. I mean, I don't know what you do, but. You know, look, I don't know if do you lock them into the stand after, say you pay the fine and you're not leaving to pay it? What do you do? Do you know what I mean? Everybody in this area has to pay this fine. Like,
like someone else is just saying that, you know, it's criminal activity and damaging a pitch. So like there's different ways you can definitely look at that.
I don't know what you do, but I mean, I don't have the answers, but it's just and even the most anti-Dundalk fan or anti-Drogheda fan or anti-Roving, whatever you are, you'll wake up tomorrow and you'll regret that. If that doesn't weigh on you, you shouldn't be going to any football matches whatsoever. You shouldn't be an example for anybody. You shouldn't get in a bus with anybody. You shouldn't be given a ticket to a match. It's disgusting. And anybody that knows them should be hanging them in. You're all in to watch football.
There says Mark.
The duck points, yeah, it should be like, or they start minus points next year or something. Next year's too late. But that's I said that before with flares. If you don't hit them in the pocket. Some clubs it affects really badly. If you have €500 a lot of money to a League of Ireland club, you know, regardless of who we're talking about, Rover, doesn't matter. But still, you start doing something like that, like Mark says, deduct points. That's probably the biggest deterrent you can get, because if you're dropping points on the table,
You're hurting your
players
club.
will not make an appearance. And like I say, I no problem with the players coming out, but when you're going to throw them on the pitch, if you can't dispose of them safely, then they shouldn't be let. Points, absolutely. It's probably the only way to do it.
The same.
Yeah, and look, I know this is it's a rare occasion where there's a burn mark, and I thought maybe there was burn marks on the old pitch. You probably couldn't see it because the rubble was that dark. You probably couldn't tell. Probably the whole pitch is burnt. But it's just a nasty thing to do. And regardless of what's happened outside the stadium, regardless of what's gone on, it's pure muck.
Yeah, I think you can have flares, like I said. If like we seen flares and stuff in the shed tonight, but like none of them was tossed onto the pitch. There has to be something. If you do that, that's crossing a line. If you burn property in an opposition ground, you're kind of crossing a line there.
Yeah,
if you bring out the flares and you dispose of it in a safe way, then I think there's a place for that. Like I say, it adds colour, it adds everything else for it. But I think when you're tossing that many onto the pitch, and it just seems like it was done in a vindictive way tonight, to test the pitch and see how bad it could be. Like I'm sure they got great joy out of that, but I just think, we're not
it's such bad taste. It's such
we're not in a league where
I'm all for the players
money floating around.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, come on, we're trying to create a league. You're trying to rivalries aside. We've got to put that to bed on this. You're trying to create an atmosphere. You're trying to create a league. You're trying to create, like, how many kids went to that game tonight watching that? It's just, the big build up to it, packed stadium. There wasn't probably a ticket left in the place. It's in Mullins where the chips before half time.
Taurus was up there.
It was supposed to be a hell of an, and unfortunately we've come away. Like, if Dundalk had been bet 10-0 tonight, we wouldn't be annoyed over as something like what's after happened. And Jason Crosby, it's criminal damage. It's just, it leaves a sour taste for everybody. Look, for everybody, Drogheda fans will be the same. They would, like, it's not all of them, but it doesn't look right on the field. And some of them cheering them on and stuff like that. But some of them will go home tonight with their heads down and very disappointed in themselves and their club and and their fellow fans, and rightly so. It's just not nice, and it's not how we want to present ourselves in the league, and it's not how we want to present our clubs, and and the worst thing is, you don't want retaliation to that. You just want them to just end it, just stop. Like, whatever it has to be. Fines, look, I don't know whether fines do it. I don't know. The more flares, the better. I love the flares. I don't have an issue with them, but once they're
dispose of them,
absolutely.
Yeah, PK just on his trying to keep up with all the comments that's coming out. Points deduction for that behaviour. It's one thing with fines, but predetermined, and that was malicious tonight. The atmosphere was great, and Pyro was part of it, but that wasn't their intention tonight from the Drogheda fans.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think somebody said it there already in a week where they were looking for solidarity.
Tony.
Tony has it up there. Yeah. And to go and do that then in a malicious way is kind of sickening behavior. It really takes the shine off what a football match that we should be talking about. For X amount of minutes in here.
I'm surprised people are still tuning into us. I haven't mentioned the match yet.
Well, to be fair, there's kind of record comments in everything else.
Well, look, it keeps us busy. Yeah,
I think it's
like, and you can see by the comments coming in how frustrated people are, and
that's because us more than anyone else have been looking forward to a new pitch for a long time. We knew that pitch wasn't up to standard.
And people in our real, how many comments have we had from Pats fans on this show? Sligo, Derry, they've all jumped into this saying, "Oh, your pitch is this, your pitch is that," and it's opened the debate. It's always been a decent conversation. But then to have this on your first night, and after all the work's been done, after all the build up, there was actually a drone media. I can't remember the guy's name. I have to remember, doing media from the sky tonight, overlooking the pitch. The flares looked unbelievable, but then you can see in the bottom left hand corner them popping on the field and the burn marks, and it's just, it's sick. It really is, yeah. And it's brilliant. Helen's right.
Should we talk about some football?
Should we try? Look, we're 70 minutes in there. We mentioned something.
Yeah, we better.
Watch everybody disappear now. We start over the match.
Ruby obviously got rewarded for his goal in Bray with a start tonight. It seemed very positive. Again, from Kieran and Ken, they've really brought that to them to kind of, how be on the attacking and on the front foot again. What did you make of the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I think Virgin Media had it up as a kind of a 4-4-2. I don't know, but like it probably did start like that really. When we got the ball, we seemed to look a bit 4-4-2-ish, I suppose, but which is unusual probably in League of Ireland terms. But I mean, am I surprised at Ruby start? Probably. But then again, in a game like that, we've also
it's
got
going to be
Leonard
physical and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you've also got Vinny coming in as well. So there have been 2 changes really because Mio but I mean, yeah, I think you need probably that wee bit of physicality, that pace, which Owen Kenny would have, but they might isolate him very quickly because they've seen what we've done against Derry and what he can do, like anywhere, pretty much anywhere across the front as a 9, as a 10, as a winger. But yeah, I think Ruby added that little bit of something to it that.
If we're doing best comments tonight, Mark just won a pizza there. He just messaged it was like getting Sabrina up for Christmas and then the wee brother broke it.
But yeah, like I think just Ruby himself, I mean, I think it was a game that he probably couldn't really get into. Look, done rightly done, he done what he had to do and done what he could do, but again, it just the game didn't probably not that the game didn't suit him. We just never really got going on his type of way and his type of pace with Kenny as well. But not massively surprising to the lineup, I suppose. I think it needed someone like that. McDade done himself no harm last week, I think, against Derry.
Yeah.
But I think maybe him coming on later in the game was probably the idea, maybe a Ruby to run them ragged.
I think so, yeah.
And I think, we were winning the game until very late on again. So it's it's not like they got it wrong. I suppose the game never really got going. But at the same time, again, these lads have come in, and we keep saying it every week, the subs have done themselves no harm. It's very rare changes are made with Kieran Kilduff's team, and it doesn't really work. I think we've had it maybe one game last year. We had to make subs very early, but it's generally to the benefit of the team, and they can see what's coming tactically from down the road from Drogheda, who are playing the 3 centre-backs and 2 wing-backs. So you needed that wee bit extra going in behind. So, yeah, I think it was the right call on the night. And I think if he was playing again tomorrow night, he'd probably make the exact same decision again.
Yeah, it was a cagey enough first half, a half of very few opportunities of what did come. Probably best ones falling to us and Darrell Organ just before half time, but they're all kind of just shots outside the box, and they're on target. Or Darrell's case, there was just off at the very end, but it looked like a typical derby that nobody wanted to make the mistake.
Yeah,
everyone was a little bit cagey and going, like, putting tackles in when tackles were needed and stuff like that. Like, there was a few bites and a few early yellow cards, but by someone taking the game by the scruff of the neck, not really that much. It was a lot more cagey, and it's probably to be expected as well.
Yeah, and in fairness to Dundalk, I remember at one stage in particular, Vinny Leonard was playing as part of 2 centre backs. They were 10 yards inside Draw's house. So it's not like we didn't go at them. It's typical draw. You couldn't really break them down. Like the commentators were saying, they very rarely concede goals, with a bit of a run now over the last couple of weeks. But again, yeah, it needed someone. I can't go all Roy Keane on it. It needed another fight. It needed a tackle. And look, Keith Buckley's well fit to do it. I thought Andrew Quinn got stuck in there as well. I think there was a bit from both sides. Nobody afraid. Like I'm just picking a column. Mullins, I'm probably skipping on here. Bobby Bones was robbed the man of the match by the commentators. I don't know what. Don't get me wrong. I know Danny Mullins had a good game.
Yeah,
but Bones for me was player of the game just on the first half alone. Look, he's going to be an excellent footballer. There's no doubt about it. He's an excellent signing. Someone I would have expected to come into.
Tony Martin agreeing with you there as well.
I thought he was. I couldn't believe.
He's a great engine on him, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
And every time he gets the ball, he wants to drive at people. He seemed to link up well with Darrell on that side as well, and it's probably something.
I was genuinely shocked he wasn't given man of the match. I really was. I don't know if he just forgot about him. I just didn't get it.
Fortune always favours the goal scorers in things like that, but I think everyone's agreeing with you here that. Bobby Burns, a real strong game. And I think he played really well last week too.
Yeah.
Just the fact that there's a couple of crackers in with regards like Owen Kenny's goal and stuff probably took the shine off it. But yeah, I think from Galway losing him and us getting it, it's really strengthened us, and it's probably weakened them somewhat, because he's the exact sort of player in that sort of a game as well. He's the sort of player you want on it. As the game opened up into the second half, as you say, a couple of substitutes and stuff like that really started to to open the game somewhat, and it gets a little bit tetchy. A real good save from Conor Kearns halfway through that half. He kind of stood up well to Loa coming through.
Yeah, and I think that's probably going to be good. Like when we look at signings throughout the year, I know, look, we've had issues with goalkeepers and injuries and things, but a player like that, and like the lads that said in commentary, a league-winning player, you forget that he won the league with Shelbourne. You forget from Galway then having his time with Shelbourne, but those type of he'll make at least one of them stops a match, and we're going to look back on it and think they're going to be vital. Now we can talk about it later on.
I was going to say who'd be a keeper, huh?
But it swings and roundabouts. But he's going to be a vital player. Look, as most goalkeepers,
I think a shot stopping though, Gally, he's probably one of the best shot stoppers in the league. He spreads himself extremely well.
That's it. He makes the goals look so small.
Yeah. He doesn't rush out to the player to concede space, and he waits, and then he kind of comes out and is wide and low. So when the shot comes in, he gets a real strong hand to it to save it and kind of push the striker out towards a more acute angle as well. It's exactly what you'd love to see from, like, as you're a goalkeeping coach looking on, you'd be like, you've played the percentages there excellent, like, and I think that's probably Conor Kearns' strongest part is standing up and making those shot stops in particular. I think that's probably his forte from it all. And
the experience as well. I mean, like, when you look at Dundalk signings over the last week, goalkeepers wise, when you think of experience, apart from Cherry, we haven't really signed like massively experienced goalkeepers at that level. You're probably going back to
Gaz Rogers is probably
that's probably I was going to say Gary. I was trying to think. I think I've probably been harsh on keepers since then, but you're probably looking at Gary Rogers with that kind of experience, that kind of a league title.
Like Nathan Shepherd come in done extremely well, but then it's just been a series of loans and that mostly. Enda Minogue was very experienced in the first division.
Exactly.
For us, and unfortunately picked up an injury then as well. So we probably got the most experienced keeper in the first division last year in Enda, and then we probably got one of the most experienced keepers in the Premier Division.
Yeah, and so the boys have always said that they're stalled early. They're going for that kind of, and like he's still got plenty of years left, and he's not like he's not in his prime. I mean, he's like, I was surprised even Shelbourne.
I think he's only 29 or 28.
Yeah, like it's there's plenty of years left in him, and I think it was a shrewd signing from the boys, and to get that experience, I don't say I'm not going to compare him to Gary Rogers, but to have to win a league and come into Dundalk then and we're not getting him at like 37, 38.
Yeah,
he's late 20s, ready to go, and keen to go again with whatever setup the boys have sold him. And I think he's going to be vital during the year. Absolutely,
When we struck, you're thinking we've hit just at the right time here as well. It's a busy box that's in there. The ball comes back out, it gets recycled. It's exactly where you kind of want Keith Buckley to be. He lashes as hard as he can back in again. Hard to see if it was going on target or not, but Danny Mullen's in the right place to just redirect it and put it through the legs of Dennison. Yeah,
and they're crying for offside, and like I've watched the replay twice. He's not even close. Like I don't even think he's close to being offside. Like maybe there's a hologram of his defender in between the goalkeeper and him, but I don't know what to put the hands up for. But yeah, it's definitely, but like the shot is good. It's on target, but whether or not I don't think he's passed the right into. But I mean, a quick feet. Like people will say, oh, it's kind of hit off. But I mean, to move your feet that quick on a moving ball through a crowd, he's obviously meant that get that connection on it. And look, great for him to get his first goal at Oriel as well. And yeah, it's great to get him off the mark. It's such a good game against Derry as well. So it's nice that he's finally off the mark. He looked a wee bit disappointed in the post-match interview, which he probably will be frustrated with it because
probably about the result more so than
it's so I don't think he'd be too disappointed in his own performance, considering the commentator gave him man of the match. But I think he's done right, he's done well, he got himself about. He's kind of I think we said it last week. He and I don't want to compare him to someone else, but he does have that movement of a Pat Hooban, and he on the ball. Now he's not as strong maybe, but he definitely has that kind of.
He can definitely lead a line though, yeah,
absolutely. And I try not to compare. I think we've compared more people to Chris Shields over the years than we'd like to do. But I think he's probably he's probably the closest thing I've seen in terms of movement. And if he scores like 1/15 of the goals, he'd be doing rightly. But yeah, look, another good signing. Quick feet for the goal. Hasn't had too much to go off on tonight. Not too many chances, but look, got himself about, can drop in deep as well, play the ball, can play as a 10. Again, another signing that would be very, very handy for us during the season. And look, I could be a top quality, probably like when we look at the league, probably could play for most teams. Let's be honest.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There's no doubt about it. So again, another top signing from the boys, and I think we're only going to see more from him as the season goes on.
On a side note, 3 attackers, O'Kenny, Arubi, and Mullins tonight, all off the mark, which is great as well.
Yeah.
Last year, one of our strengths in depth were the goals were coming from everywhere, but you always worry about strikers coming in and stuff like that. That who's going to take that mantle on. But the fact that we've been able to share the goals around the full front line at the moment is a real positive as well.
Yeah, well, we'd similar last year as well. Like that was kind of a key to the boys getting to where we'd Hogan, Dean Ebby, Ruby Kenny, Leo Gaxa when he unfortunately before he got injured, all chipping in with goals. With Harry Groom, you almost forget Harry Groom's there. It was almost like a renaissance when you came off the bench early on, because you're even though we're so early in the season, you're just expecting a Buckley and a Dale to play. So it's great to have players like that coming off the bench as well. Young Tynan comes in as well.
Ruby was probably unlucky with, on the build up to that goal. When it bounced to him, he kind of smacked the volley as hard as he could. We've seen him get that chance last year and score it so many times last year. But so when it fell back out to Buckley, it was, it was the perfect ball, let's say.
Yeah, and that's you want those second ball. You want players picking up, and Keith Buckley probably found himself probably slightly higher up the field than he normally is.
But on a free kick like that, that's where you want them, just outside the box to recycle anything.
It's all part of the plan. It's all part of whatever they've worked on during the week, and he's found himself in the right spot. Whether he's aimed at with his left peg, I don't know I think he's just hit and hoped really. But I mean, if you send it into a crowd,
it's on his left. It's on his
going
left.
To get a touch. Yeah, it's going to get a touch off somebody on the way in. So why not? But it's worked out for us, and like you say, Ruby's had it in the build up as well. So. But he's getting on the end of these things, whereas for before, I suppose we're going back again, but we couldn't get on the end of anything for a long time before the boys came in. I know, albeit first division, we just always never seemed to create those half chances. Never fell to us, and now we're just getting that wee bit, and it's just a pity we couldn't hang on to, like you say, the lead and result again. But look, it's very early doors, and just picking up on Mark's comment there as well. Anna Masahoon, I definitely think. I mean, I would have said last year that Leonard would have been a better centre back. But then when I look at it, and I don't mean to criticise anybody, but definitely Anna Masahoon is the number one centre back we have. I mean, there's no, and look, we're basing off very early off 1.5 games, but yeah, I would agree because he steps into midfield a little bit more Leonard-like, I suppose.
Yeah.
But for me, Anna Masahoon would be, and hopefully it's not too long, but there could be a bit of an issue there. But look on the flip side, I was about to say, Jason, Vinny Leonard, look, it's outstanding. And look, Rob's come in as well. Ball's probably passed him a few more times from my liking, but I mean, look, I think he's just getting up to speed with it, maybe, hopefully. But Vinny again, look, I mean, Jesus, like sensational football. Just top class, leading the line there. He's a captain for someone. There's no doubt about it. Future captain, absolutely. Not of us, obviously.
Could well be at Norwich.
But a leader on and off the field, I'm sure.
So we were heartbreak deep into injury time last week, and it's 88 minutes on the clock. Ball is down the opposite end, and you're thinking that's exactly where you want it to be. Disappointed maybe how far Conor Keeley's able to carry the ball out. I mean, Danny Mullins tries, I think, to get a chunk of him, and he somehow stays on his feet. And then all of a sudden, he passes the ball out to the far side, to the left hand side, and there's acres of space out there. I suppose that'll be the disappointing thing when Kieran and Ken come back and they look at this. One, you're probably looking for Danny Mullins to take the cynical foul on that. Just do not let the player through. Absolutely. Take the yellow card. You have 2 minutes left of the match and take one for the team on that. To be fair to him, I think he does try. to somehow Conor Keeley stays on his feet on that and breaks out. And it's just the fact when the ball goes out wide, there's just so much space. It's so disappointing. They're getting numbers into the box because obviously it's the last gap stuff. When the cross comes in, I thought he actually had overhit it. I thought it was just going to float out
100%,
initially, and then it just seemed to drop. It's immediate there. So many times I've seen that just, whistle. The ref is like, I don't know what's happened. The keepers end up on the ground, free out.
Yeah.
There's no free out. Suspicion of handball in there, suspicion of a foul on the keeper. We just got no luck when it came to that.
Yeah, and going back to Keeley. Keeley had done that a couple of times, stepping out with the ball, and he had a lot of space in the middle of the ball. He stepped up with the ball from centre. He had a lot of space in the middle of it. And Andrew Quinn done it once or twice as well. So it's something the boys need to look at. Now, look, I'm based this off one game. It didn't happen against Derry. But yeah, Keeley seemed to get up the field a lot during that. He seemed to find himself an extra 10 or 15 yards ahead of him, which he shouldn't have had freely with the ball. He almost looked like a midfielder at times. But yeah, the cross, I mean, the commentator said it's not a normal cross. It's like, if Darryl Hogan's that side of the field with that ball, it's whipped in, and then we probably don't have an issue. But yeah, it just seems to hang in the air. And like you say, for all intents and purposes, it looks like it's going wide, or Cairns will come to clean it. It's not a free because Keeley's off the ground first. So I think the ref's got it bang on. I think Cairns has mistimed the jump possibly. Or not expecting Keeley to make it up.
Doesn't Lewin knock him off balance? Cairns off balance? Or
I think it'd be harsh. I think it's really harsh. I think Keeley gets off the ground. There's definitely, but I'd say from the ref's angle, he probably can't see it. But I think Keeley gets off the ground well. You can see them given, many a time you've seen that given as a free out. But I think in the 88th minute of a derby, ask the ref to blow the whistle on that. I don't know whether he blows the whistle on that. But with a brave man, probably not to give it. But I can see why it's given. I agree with the decision that it's given. The talk of the hand, whether the angle has it, you could talk to the assistant referee.
I'm literally just looking back on it there, and just from the one behind the opposite goal, like you can see Lua kind of goes to jump, kind of knocks Keeley off balance, and it looks like his hand goes up in between Cairns and gets it. Look, like you say, you've seen him given, you've seen him not given.
Of course, and you see them given more times than not given. Let's be honest. You see,
I would say 80%.
If that's in the first 10 minutes, if that's in the first 10 minutes, it's probably given as a free. Let's be honest. But I think with the way the game was and the cost of pitch repairs, maybe if he doesn't give it, the fact
that Keeley goes from one box to the other is
he's probably applauding. I mean, he gets off the ground well. Look, but like you say, you got to deal with it earlier. There's no point giving it a cross when they're already in the box. Stop the cross. You get to them earlier. Knock them down. Whatever you have to do, get it. Last couple of minutes of the game, you got to stop the cross. And look, in fairness, the cross, you'd expect that cross to go maybe 5 or 6 yards further down the line. He's crossed it. He's really on an angle there from across the ball. So I suppose probably being harsh, a whipped cross probably doesn't work from really from that angle. He probably just sends it in and hit and hope. But yeah, it's just one of them. It's get in and it's like somebody said, Wimbledon football. That's what it is. I mean, it's in the box.
Michael Kelly said it reminds you of Wimbledon in the 80s.
Get amongst it and look, it works. I mean, if you're chasing a 1-0 defeat, if you're chasing a 1-0 scoreline in the last couple of rounds, you can't pass your way through it. You've got to go after it, and they did, and we've succumbed to it. Although be it a late, I was going to say for the second week in a row, but be it a late penalty last week, which again was a penalty. So we got to stop this mess, and you only get it. You won't be 5 or 6 games into the league and talking about these silly incidents later on in the game. So they'll get it right. The boys will be disappointed, and unfortunately have Shamrock Rovers. But let's you'd like a few more points going in. You'd like a few more goals. Maybe a Louth Derby as well. But I think if you said to somebody, and I know it's the cliche thing to say, if you said to somebody started the league, you'll play Derry and Drogheda and you'll get a point from each. Look, I don't think you would have been too disappointed. Yes, you want to win the Louth Derby, and
of course
you're disappointed that you've been ahead twice in Derry and ahead tonight, and you haven't taken 6 points really. But look, that's football. That's it's what we're in, and It's why we
To be
get
2
frustrated.
games into a return to the Premier Division and we're undefeated. I think that's the positive you take, and the fact that we're scoring goals and we're creating chances and we're not. You can talk about bad luck. You can talk about decisions going for us, against us tonight, last week, whatever. But I think the fact that we are competing, the fact that we
we're
are
more than good enough to compete. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're talking about Derry, who were title contenders. We talked about that last week. You're talking about a Drogheda side who've really cemented themselves in this division. They're not the team they used to be. They've got some real good quality players in there, and I think Kevin has them playing to their own strengths in key areas, and I think to play both those teams and be undefeated, it's like I say, there's definitely positives to be taken. You take those positives and you bring it into Tala now on Monday. Do you change anything in how we've been playing? Are we too open? Do we need to find some different way, or is there a different way? Or is it what Kieran and Ken do is always on the front foot, and that's how they play?
Yeah, I think, look, and you have to give them credit. Like they always play. They're not a team that's going to go in there and just sit. They want to get at it. I'd be interested to see the lineup.
Do you think is there changes coming?
I think I would let McDade loose against Rovers, because I think he did really well against Derry. I think he's probably harsh. I think he's a player that can get at play. He's got a bit of hogging about him. I like to see a Ruby maybe coming on later on, to kind of give them something
more of an impact off the bench.
Yeah, look, again, that's just my opinion. I'm just based off the last 2 matches. I thought McDade was done really well against Derry. I don't really see too many. I mean, look, you're at centre back, you're not going to see too many changes. Does Harry Groom come in?
Well, Harvey Warren is now available.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So I'm not a fan of 4 midfielders. I like 4-4, definitely a talent. I don't see us doing that. Now, these boys are paid professional wages to make these decisions. But your 5 in midfield at Tala, just to kind of get that extra body in the middle of the park. But that extra body could be Owen Kenny. Same with Derry. So it'd be an interesting way to see how we line up. I think I'd bring McDade back in, but then again, look, I'm only basing it off what we've seen the last 2 weeks. I think the game against Tala could need an out-and-out set of wingers. But yeah, look, we don't. Hogan could come in and play as the 10. We just don't know. But there's no doubt about the lads will go for it.
Yeah, I think that's just their mentality, though, is to play on the front foot.
Yeah. What you don't want is going to draw. You go to Tala and then you get a draw, and then people say, you didn't go for it. So you're better off getting the draw, going for it, or getting bet 1-0 and going for it. You know what? Like, it's at this stage of the season, I think you've got a bit of a leeway there to kind of go after things and test the water and test yourselves, and give them something to chase. And for 7-8 games to go when it's tight, well, that's different. If you've got 3 games on the bounty, you've 3 games in 10 days. Have a go at it and see. Look, you take the hits. You're going to be no worse off, I don't think. Nobody's expecting massive things at the minute, so I wouldn't change as far as mentality goes. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, it's so different to. I'm thinking back to the relegation season. At the start, we were searching so long for a win, but we were hardly in games. This seems to be the opposite. Yeah, we're 2 games in and we haven't won yet, but we are very much in game. And I thought tonight, you would say, bar one other chance, and then up to the 88th minute, we controlled that game tonight. We had the majority of the play and stuff like that. So I think that's the real difference here, where we're not just making up numbers in the league this year. We seem to have, through experienced players and a formation, that we can bring it to teams. We just need a touch of luck now at this stage, you would say. They often say you want to be a lucky manager than a good manager sometimes. And I think Ken and Kieran would be definitely just looking for a bit of luck going forward now. We put ourselves in a position to remain in games for long enough, and you're just looking for that extra wee bit of luck maybe now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't forget it. We have the quality. Like, there's quality there. Like, I mean, we've got a really talented bunch of players. Yes, they might not be, the Rovers or the Pats maybe individually, but I think as a group, like, I don't think we could have probably, like, I don't think there's anybody. I'm sure there's nobody we went to sign and we missed. You know, like there might be maybe one, but I think the caliber of players we've signed, you know, the quality is there to go and play against the best in the league. I mean, yes, you'll always have longevity wise over a season. You know, the creme de la creme will always go to the top, but the bigger squads maybe. But I think, you know, as our first kind of 16, I think, you know, we're a match for anybody on our day. It's just whether we can, like I think Colin had said there, you know, we're dropping points late in matches. We have to cut that out. You know, we had these 1-0 wins last year. We're giving out of it as well. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but you know, you don't be looking back on 3 or 4 draws that you were leading in matches. So that's something the boys will want to put right. But yeah, look, I think the quality of the team, like you know, you don't want to go down this road of saying, we're coming up from the first division. It's like we're Dundalk at the end of the day. We've got quality there. There's proven winners, there's cup winners, there's league winners. You know, it's you know, you gotta go after it, and that's what we're here for. You know, we spent like 12 months is 12 months too long in the first division. You know, like, and I think in the first kind of half a dozen matches, you can throw caution to the wind, in my opinion, in this league, because there's enough of a catch up that if you have an absolute nightmare, you know, which we're not going to have, I don't think. You've got enough of a catch up there to fix it, and there's the squad is good enough that we have players in multiple positions, like we similarly had the last year. So you can switch around, you can go defensive, you can go 5 at the back. So it's not, you know, I don't fear going to. Probably the only thing I'd fear is going to Tala. If it's an Oriel, bring them on. You know, it's obviously Tala's a big stadium, packed. It'll always be packed for the Dundalk Rovers game. But I don't think the lads will fear it. They'll thrive on it. And like Kieran Kilduff thrives on it as a footballer. So, you know, played with the best in the league, played the best manager in the league. So it shouldn't be any different for these boys. You've got Hogan. These lads are league winners. Keith Buckley, Talisman. You know, that's... You've Vinnie Leonard then peppered in with that as well. No fear. There should be no fear in him. He's 13 years of age. There should be no fear in him whatsoever.
Yeah, I think he, like you say, you're looking at possibly 2 title contenders and the Louth Derby in there. If
I wouldn't say we're title contenders, Chris, but you know, I think we'll be up there. You're getting ahead of yourself then.
Yeah, well, sure. Look, we've nailed it on now. I think if you can come out of that undefeated in those first 3, I think there's definitely something solid there to, you know, to push yourself on in this league and not be too close to the bottom and just put yourself in the mix where you're probably a bit safer.
Of course, and I agree with Tony there on that. I just mentioned with Tony that the Kenny in the 10 last week against Derry was excellent, and I'd be looking for. I'd have no fear putting him in again against a team like Rovers, because you know Derry and Rovers would be very kind of, I suppose, similar squad wise and the way they play. So yeah, I wouldn't be against that at all, Tony. Yeah, 100%. I think Kenny was excellent against Derry. Just
looking at the Rovers team there tonight, like he rested, not rested, but you know, whatever. And again, the Stevens, Graham Burke, Conor Malley, and Michael Noonan all came off the bench. It shows the strength that they have.
Noonan was only on. That's the thing left to watch. Noonan was only on the pitch 90 seconds and he scored.
Yeah, like so. There's plenty in there.
Vinny will deal with him.
That's it. Look, like Oisin saying there, you know, like we're playing probably well overall. And I think that's the thing we got to be positive about, and like hopefully aiming for a mid-table finish. I think that would be super positive if that's where we can be. At least at least we eventually were able to talk about football. I thought we're actually going to go on about the Flares for forever at the start. Gally, do you want to do a man of the match?
Yeah, I keep forgetting to put up the ticker tape for Tony's. I was still doing Tony's. Well, look, yes. My man of the match I nailed on early. I still can't, but I'm still surprised that I understand Danny Mullen's got a goal, but I mean, Bobby Bones for me, I thought was excellent. And somebody made a comment there from playing on the left. Absolutely. I mean, going forward as well. He you know, Sean Keogh-esque. I know Sean's younger than him, but it's what we would have had. You know, he's not Dane Massey level, but I mean, he's right in amongst it. He started on the Shed side at left back tonight, and they got really after him. They got, you know, tackles, headers. I think there was a tackle that he sent down the line, and then they came back at him, and he headed it back up again. So the Shed were really behind him. We had that kind of bullish in him in the first half, so he was rare on the goal. So yeah, for me, Bobby Bones. And I was actually going to say just ahead of, but
he probably was the best player on the pitch.
No, I don't see it. Yeah, Danny Mullins for the goal. I thought Keith Buckley had a better game tonight than he did against Derry. Not that he was poor against Derry, but I think Bobby Bones streets ahead of everybody else. Streets, yeah. I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I think most people kind of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and someone who has an offensive mindset as well, which is exactly what we want. We don't want.
Yeah, and you can tell already he's going to be a fan favourite. The Shed side will love him down the left hand side. So yeah, for me, Pete's all over it. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, look, there was plenty of people agreeing with you tonight there. I think in amongst them all there, Tony Martin has kind of plenty of commented tonight as well. So congratulations, Tony. There is a 15-inch pizza on us there in Tony's Pizzeria.
Don't forget the chips. And
if
you're off Coke for Lent, have Diet Coke.
There we go. I think it's still Coke, but fair play. Right, we've covered off Monday night. We've give that away. I think we've nearly got everything. Just one final reminder, over half the places are gone for our town enders for this year. So we are sponsoring Owen Kenny again for this year. And at the end, if you give in your €15, you enter in a draw to win Owen Kenny's home jersey from this year as well. So if we'll ask anyone that hasn't got in who would be interested in it, look, we're way over half of the positions are filled, and there's probably only about 10 left on that. So I would say if anyone's interested in getting back in again for this year, if you can, it's on our socials anyway, isn't it?
Share it again tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll share it again. Just our Revolut is on that, and as I said, we make the list. We normally will message you back just to say thank you, so you know that we've received the €15 over. But that does put you into the draw for Gally's Wheel of Names come the end, which is a great crescendo that never goes wrong, except for every year, to be fair. So it's So
one thing before we go, one thing I want to mention as well. If you're in North Dublin tomorrow, there's a transplant game on. It's a memorial match for one of the lads who passed away who went to the World Cup with Stephen Middleton, and it's Ireland against Wales. It's always a good game with the Celtic Warriors, two great games. Two great teams, and it's on at 2:00 in the AUL and the Astro tomorrow. So if you're in North Dublin and you fancy watching some transplant football for an hour and a half, come up and give us a shout.
So there you go. That's
you'll see me playing.
Well,
in the Owen Kenny role.
This is people's opportunity to come see, one of the key volunteers of Ireland, be nominated for Louth. So this is the chance, everybody, to
make it easier to myself. Yeah,
to come and do it. Look, Gally, I think we've probably covered off everything against. We'll be back again on Monday night to go through the Shamrock Rovers match. Hopefully it won't be as a fiery affair on Monday night. But I think that's probably about us. Thanks as always to all our sponsors, to Donald Green, to Mark Carolyn, and to Tony and everyone in Tony's Pizzeria. So until next week, come on to town.
My black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white, yeah, it's black and white, we're just black and white, it's my black and white, it's my black and white.